The Halo is a safety device in Formula One and many other open-wheel racing series. It was first designed in 2016, and the FIA, the governing body for many motorsport series, made it mandatory for every car competing in Formula One from 2018 onwards to have one. Let's start with getting to know the Halo. The Halo is a wishbone-shaped structure that is designed to protect the driver's head. The main hoop is the C-shaped structure that is above the driver's head. The rear brackets at the end of the main hoop connect to the car. Every car will have inbuilt attachments for the brackets to attach to. The central pylon and V-transition connects the main hoop to a joint called the front fitting axis, and the front bracket, which is connected to the car via another in-car attachment. It is made out of grade 5 titanium, which is often used in the aerospace industry to make aircraft turbines and engine parts. All halos are built to withstand a minimum of 125 kilonewtons of force, without a deflection of more than 17.5 millimeters. If you follow Formula One, you may have heard that the Halo can withstand the weight of a double-decker bus. So, let's look at what that means. A double-decker bus weighs around 12.65 tons, so the force it exerts on the Halo when it is placed on top of it is 124,096.5 newtons, which is under the minimum force a Halo must be able to withstand. So it can in fact hold a double-decker bus. But will there ever be an incident in Formula One where a double-decker bus is gently loaded on top of a Formula One car? Probably not. So what can the Halo withstand in terms of F1 cars and rogue tyres? I took a quick look into past crashes to see which ones a Halo could withstand and which ones it couldn't. During a recent race, a driver sent another driver into a barrier at around 112 kilometers per hour or 50 meters per second. The impact was measured at 51 G. In other words, his deceleration was 500.31 meters per second squared. Using V equals U plus AT, the time taken for the car to slow to a stop would have been 0.099938 seconds to 5 significant figures. 2021 cars have a minimum weight of 752 kilos, and the maximum fuel allowed in a car is 110 kilos. Considering this was a first lap incident and the teams preferring to design their cars as light as possible, the mass of the car alone was probably around 862 kilos. The average mass of a Formula One driver this year is around 67.85 kilos. This gives a combined car and driver mass of 929.85 kilos. Force is equal to the change in momentum over time taken. So, plugging those numbers in, you get a force of around 465,210 newtons to 5 significant figures, which is much higher than the 125,000 newtons force the Halo will definitely work for. So, what can the Halo withstand in terms of a lap 1 crash? I looked into a few crashes, and the impact time is usually just under 1/10 of a second. So I'll be using 0.1 seconds for impact time. We can then work backwards. Force is equal to the change in momentum over the time taken. So if we plug in 125,000 newtons as the force and 929.85 kilos as the mass of the car and the driver combined, the initial velocity comes to around 13.443 meters per second to 5 significant figures, which is just above 30 miles per hour. So the Halo can withstand a 30 mile per hour crash with a fully intact Formula One car, which isn't too bad, considering for an F1 car to hit another's Halo, they will probably crash into the front of the car first, and will be slowed down by the contact with the front of the car. Not to mention the fact that the mass of the car and the driver will be less than the value I used in the calculations, due to parts of the car detaching during a crash and the teams not always fueling their cars to the maximum capacity. I then looked into debris from crashes, more specifically tyres, and the maximum velocity they can travel at before the force of the impact goes above the minimum force the FIA state a Halo must be able to withstand. Again, working backwards, the force will be 125,000 newtons, but this time the mass is a lot lower. I couldn't find the exact values for tyre mass in Formula One in 2021, but I have the values from the 2017 season, so I'll go by those. The front tyres are about 9.5 kilos and the rear tyres are about 11.5 kilos. I'll take 0.1 seconds as the impact time again. Substituting these numbers into the equations, you get 1,350 15.8 meters per second to 5 significant figures for the front tires, and 1,087.0 meters per second to 5 significant figures for the rear tires. Convert those values into miles per hour, and you get 2,943.4 miles per hour to 5 significant figures for the fronts, and 2,431.6 miles per hour to 5 significant figures for the rears. Both of those values are insanely quick, so it is safe to say that the Halo can definitely protect drivers from rogue tires. Overall, the Halo is an amazing piece of safety equipment, and the values I calculated only show the velocities for the minimum force a Halo must be able to survive to be approved. With many Halos being able to survive more than the regulated 125 kilonewtons, it is clear to see that the drivers are much safer with the Halo than without.